Hello, love. Um, I want to first apologize that the background is my kitchen. I know it's not the sexiest background, but it just is what it is at this moment. Um, but I do want to give you kind of the layout that I have here because I've been probably for about the last 10 minutes kind of setting this up in ways that I felt called to do. Um, and here's what we're working with. I promise what I'm looking at is much more appealing than my kitchen. But we have over here to keep us company, we have amethyst. I believe this is obsidian and citrine. And mostly the citrine came to mind because it is for clarity purposes. And that is also, I have a little kind of a spell candle. It's called a chime candle. It's kind of a way of casting a spell, and then the idea is like once it's burned up, then the spell is complete. I don't know if you can see, but on the side here, the word clarity was coming to mind, and so I've actually carved that into the candle so that it can bring kind of add a layer of clarity to the illusion. Over here are the cards that we're going to be using, primarily this deck, which is the Ethereal Visions deck. And then I felt like to draw a card from the Archetypes deck as well. So that will probably draw a card here to guide our session today. And then we'll be reading from Ethereal Visions. I use this smoke stick with lavender and cinnamon oil. And I'm just going to take a little bit of this spell work tincture. It's not really a tincture. I guess it's more like an essence. Yeah. Um, that's more like an essence, but I'm going to take a little bit just to give a little bit more oomph. We have a lot. That tastes good. I love things when things are preserved with brandy because it's actually pleasant. I don't know that it does much, honestly, in terms of it's not a one that we use for extraction a lot, but it can be used for preservation, so it's kind of tasty. But we have a lot of allies here, and like I said, the primary thing that was coming to me was clarity, and that's kind of what I've picked up from you. It sounds like what you're looking for. Um, and all of these choices were just based on intuition. So some I have some reason for them, and then none not and not for, and some non, and I also have not reasons. Oh my gosh, words. Okay, so first things first, I just want to pick an archetype card for us here. I don't know if you're familiar with Jungian, Carl Jung's work. He did a lot of work with archetypes and to helping us understand aspects of ourselves, aspects of our community. Archetypes are kind of the stock characters, if you will. You have, I think some of the more well-known ones like Mother archetype or the Wounded Healer archetype. Like these are pieces of people that you usually find in multiple people, and they have at least the way that Carolyn Mace has created these, they have light attributes and they have shadow attributes. And so, for example, we might be an artist archetype, and in the light, it's about being creative. In the dark, it's like jealousy or something, like that kind of thing. So, okay, so two, being told to draw three. Okay, so these two fell out, and I usually take that as a sign that they want to be shared. So we have child, nature, and you can see the light attributes there are friendships with animals, communication with nature spirits. And the shadow, it's a tendency to abuse animals, people, and the environment. And That word abuse, as you know, it encapsulates so many things. So that can also be like overuse or neglect. And the one I think about with, especially one that comes to mind with like environment, is like where we expect overproduction. Like we expect more from the thing than it is able to give to us. And what I see in this is that the way to kind of move out of that shadow is to recognize that everything is a relationship. Everything that we are involved with is a relationship. And the way relationships work is that there's a give and take, there's a mutuality, there's a respect. And so tendency to abuse animals, peoples, and the environment. And so it's about, if this resonates with you, then it's really about re-recognizing what the relationship looks like and how you can bring yourself into right relationship with those things. Okay. And again, these are just going to be kind of like archetypes that guide us today. And you can let me take a step back, because I just kind of dove in without giving any preface. So usually what I recommend with a reading is that you have a journal or a blank piece of paper handy, and you pause when something hits you, and we call it resonating. I like to think, the reason I use resonating, I don't know why other people use resonating. I let them have their own ways, but the reason I use it is because resonance is like when things are vibrating together. So it's like when you strum a guitar. This is usually the analogy I give. So like when you strum a guitar, you have that vibration happening. It's like it resonates in that it's almost like whatever has been said or communicated has like strummed those guitar strings for you, and you're like, what? And you can have a variety of reactions to that. So it can stir up something excited, like you could have an excited feeling, you could have like a sinking in the pit of your stomach feeling, you can have a really agitated, restless, anxious response. And what I usually say is like, don't worry about judging the response. Okay, just hit pause and write down what's coming up for you. Like, even if it's just images or a song title or lyrics, or a scene from a movie, or oh, I'm noticing I'm crying, like I've got tears in my eyes, or I think I'm gonna puke. Like, what's your bodily write down anything that's coming up. And then what you can do as over time, like as you go through the reading, is you can put those pieces together, hopefully. Okay. The nice thing is you can hit pause anytime. You can stop anytime. So if this becomes too overwhelming, please do that. It's okay. There is no prize for marathoning yourself through this reading. If it's hitting home, it could be stirring up some deep shit. So it's okay to give yourself space to process that. Okay. This reading is yours indefinitely, so you can come back to it anytime you need. Okay. And I think those are all my disclaimers. All right. So the second archetype card that we have here is Guide. Okay. So light attribute represents the nature of the divine, capital D, in life and in yourself. The shadow attribute places financial gain and control over imparting spiritual insight. Okay. So the light attribute with the Guide, what I get is that like this is any place you see yourself as helping someone move from point A to point B. Okay. So you do that a lot with tutoring. And that can be other things too. Like it can be you're guiding your children through the world, you're helping them move from point A to point B. And that's not always linear, of course, and it's not always from one point to the other. Sometimes it's from 1 point to 8 million points down the road. You have to kind of keep I see a guide as someone who's willing to keep pivoting and adjusting um, and acclimating to different expectations, different terrain, right? So a guide, might take you along the riverbed, but then goes up the riverbed, the banks of the riverbed, over some grassland, and then into the forest. And those are three very different terrains to navigate. The guide might on the riverbed have to say, be careful about sharp, jagged rocks and the water rising quickly. And the things they're pointing out are like wildlife and plants that grow along that area. And they get up into the grassy meadow, and that's a totally, hey, be careful, there's snakes here. So, like, the guide knows and understands many terrains and also how to communicate the lessons needed in those areas. The shadowy part, places financial gain and control over imparting spiritual insight. So I see these as like the like the Joseph Mercolas of the world, for example, who they have decided that money and control are more important than giving people actual guidance and wisdom. So they spread misinformation and like promote the sales of their supplements, and there's a twisted, warped feeling to all of that interaction, and it's misleading people. Okay. So moving from shadow to light, is recognizing that we ourselves are never in any kind of control. Very difficult for people with PTSD to come to grips with that. So, like, I'm not saying that's an easy process. But I also think a big piece of that is aligning yourself with your values. And so maybe taking some time to identify what are my top, let's say, 5 values. If you can narrow it down even further than that, that will really help focus your path. But aligning yourself with your values so that you're moving through the world with integrity, right? Okay. And integrity not necessarily meaning just like telling truth, but like aligning yourself with your truth. That's really what integrity is, right? Is like when something's in has a strong integrity, it means that it's like strong. It's nothing is broken, broken meaning like a variety of things, like it could be broken meaning like I'm operating in someone else's values and not in my own, so there's a disingenuous like piece there, and that's the broken piece that makes me out of integrity, kind of a thing. Okay, and then the third is night. Okay, so the light attributes of the night are loyalty, romance, and chivalry, a love of honor. And then the shadow attributes: allegiance to a destructive ruler or principle, romantic delusions. And so, honestly, this again, I think about moving from the shadow to the light and what you would need. And I think it really is that integration, or that coming back into it, integrity with your own value set. And allegiance to a destructive ruler or principle. So, a ruler, that could be like your outward rulers, bosses, the government, etc. But it can also be internal rulers, like who makes the decisions inside of you that then every other part of you has to follow. Romantic delusions, and I think about like again, when at least for me, when I've lived according to someone else's value set, it is a delusion, and I romanticize it because I'm like, well, they spend all their time writing books. Like, I would say, if I was not going to be a doctor, the person I would like to be most like is Elizabeth Gilbert. Okay, so she spends all day writing books. Oh, I want to do that. What a romantic idea, like writing books. And then, I sit down to work on something that I'm writing, and it's really like a lot of dedication, commitment, boundary setting, and work. And I'm like, but is that really what I want to be doing? Is that in alignment with my personal values? And Doing that for a living, not so much. Like one of my top values is authenticity and then creativity. Well, those could easily, maybe I could write a book with those values, but authentically, I have to then admit what I really love, which is helping people solve problems. So if I can do that by writing a book, then maybe that would work out. But otherwise, like going into a field like naturopathic medicine fits that value very well, because I'm helping people solve the problems of their health, for example. Okay. So I just I want to pull up, there's a specific Celtic cross layout that I like, and I want to pull that up real quick. Just as a reference. And if you hear my little kitten meowing, she's trying to get some lunch out of me. Let's see if we can. Cleo, come here. Come on. Where are you? Where are you, kitten? Oh, hi. Say hi. You gonna pat me? Please feed me, she says. She's so cute. Okay. Okay. There it is. Whoever has this on Etsy is like now charging for it. It's annoying. But, okay. All right. So I'm just going to shuffle. I cleared these with the smoke stick, but I'm going to shuffle. And as I do, I like to think about you, kind of our mission here, which is to find some clarity, to invite clarity in. I'm inviting all of your guides, your higher self, anyone else that is in your corner, is championing you in this lifetime. And then I'm just going to start laying these out. And just to put it out there, I'm only going to read cards that are right side up, just for simplification. So I'm just kind of telling everyone that. And these are still cards that are fairly new to me, so I might default to the guidebook a little bit on them. And just so that I can get clarity. And just so you know, my method for that is that I will look through and I will see what words kind of ping me, and I kind of just use that to help me further understand what's happening. All right. My phone is being weird. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, so I'm going to show you the spread. I actually felt like I needed to draw 2 extra cards. So the main Celtic spread is what you see with those 6 cards to the left of your screen, and then the 4 going up the line. And then there's 2 extras because there was like this sense of like draw 2 more. Okay, so let's just dive in here and see what happens. So the card that's sitting in your most recent past is the 6 of Cups. and cups being kind of the holders of water, and we look at water in tarot as kind of dealing with emotion, and so then cups are like these vesicles that hold emotion. And so we have these two little kiddos that appear to be more masculine presenting, and they are adding flowers to the water, which is just super adorable. So there's this kind of this sense of like the masculine being in this really innocent form where, and when we talk about masculine and feminine here, I'm more so talking about the what I call like the divine masculine or the divine feminine. So not necessarily the way we've gendered the masculine and feminine into man and woman, but more so how we have these characteristics that are always kind of at play inside of us. And the masculine being like the protector, the the warrior. There is a warriorness to the feminine as well, but the warriorness is really more masculine based, and whereas like the feminine has more of that nurturing, caretaking, nourishing side. So you need both of them at play at any given time, because at the same time that you're nurturing and nourishing a valuable thing in your life, whether it's an idea or a living being or a dream, you also need that masculine who's like creating boundaries um, and like making sure that the feminine has the food that's then going to become a meal to feed the idea or the dream or the person. So in this we have like young masculine, there's a lot of innocence here, and there's potentially a lot of emotion as well, but they're really working to bring beauty out of that situation, out of that pain. And I think this is a reminder that that we don't often have to completely transform our painful experiences in order for them to be beautiful. We can just see them differently. They're adding little flowers to their cups, so we can just choose to see them differently. Let's see what the little guidebook here says about Six of Cups. So we have generosity, charity, empathy, kindness. So that, like I said, it's just kind of the sense of innocence that you're coming out of, trying to, in the ways that children do, trying to make the best of a bad situation. Current status, where you are in the present, is the Page of Swords. I fucking love this chick. What a badass bitch, right? Like, way she's holding that sword, her whole outfit is just stunning. She is just like no fear. She's on the top of a mountain. She's got that sword to guide her, and she's off. And swords are generally a little bit more related to like communication. So this is saying it represents enthusiasm, travel, creativity, exploration. And maybe that's like, maybe enthusiasm is not yet something you feel, but I would say, okay, so like, I don't get the sense that you feel like, if I were to be like, are you enthusiastic right now? You'd be like, fuck no. But I think there is a deeper layer. Like there's like, I get this image that there's a well that is actually, there is a lot of enthusiasm there, and it's asking you to kind of turn inward and tap into that. Because like you're out there, you're doing it. Whatever has transpired, like whether it was because you were like making the best out of a bad situation or whatever, the person that you are today is conquering. Okay. It's like conquering that mountain. It's out there. And we can see that like anxiety and excitement are like two sides of the same coin, right? So like something new is presented to us, it causes a lot of anxiety. We can also choose the path of excitement. And so like what's coming up out of this is what's keeping you from choosing excitement. You know, oftentimes when we have trauma in the background, we don't allow ourselves to get excited about things because we have had these terrible experiences where we were excited about something and the floor got pulled out from under us. You know, like it turns out it wasn't even a floor; it was a false floor, and it just collapsed. And then we're falling, we're hurt, we're injured. So, as a survival mechanism and as a way of protecting ourselves, we we decide we decide to choose anxiety because that protective piece of us is like, don't get excited, like it's just going to get ripped from you anyway. And I think what we find here is like when you in those moments where you find that happening, it's okay to tap back into this like childlike part of yourself that when presented with some challenging emotions decided to find the beauty in them. And if they couldn't find the beauty, they added the fucking beauty. Okay. It's that is it's not only okay, it's what you're being asked to do. Um Near future we have the 5 of Pentacles. And so this can be interpreted many different ways, but there are two that come to mind. The first is um you have the mother or the parent here cradling the child. So there's this sense that something has gone wrong. And in the real world, it's like a real parent cradling a real child, comforting and protecting them. Internally, it's our internal parent in cradling and protecting our internal child. I want to come back to this because I think there's more here, but we need more information from these cards. So overlaying these 3 cards is the 6 of Pentacles. And we kind of have this like interesting, I like think of them as like a Libra figure with the balancing, with the scales balancing. And then we have like the masculine and the feminine. They're more mature in this storyline, this part of the story. And there's this sense that they're like maybe meeting each other for the first time. And then you have kind of this divine mother figure, like balancing them, creating that balance between the two. So usually these are the card as it overlays, because it overlays those 3 we were just talking about, past, present, and future. And it's usually generally speaking, it's either a bridge to the future or an obstacle, so something to overcome. Personally, I think what's coming up here is it is actually a guide. It's actually a toolbox. It's what you need to know in order to navigate what's coming up next. So there's this sense that, like with this Page of Swords, that you are on the top of a mountain. You've made it to the peak. Nothing can stop you. You're about to head back down to the valley, where there's going to need to be a lot more comforting and a lot more peaceful support. So by that I mean not aggressive warrior energy. It's more like strong, confident, peace-inspiring comfort. And the way you navigate that future world is to allow balance between your masculine and feminine. So this is kind of where I would suggest that you check in and just see where is that balancing, teeter totter right now? Who is taking up the most space? Who has the most say? Is it the masculine part of you, which is like, in the light, it's the protector warrior energy, but in the dark, it's like the fight or flight energy, right? Where it's just like, got to get us out of here. Whether that's necessary or not, it doesn't matter. If it's in the shadow, that's the energy that's coming up. Or is it the feminine, where it's like, it's the soft, receptive energy. It's more nurturing. It's nourishing when it's in the light. When it's in the shadow, it's passive. It allows it allows itself to be trampled, to be stepped over, to be misused. When we talk about this tendency to abuse animals, people, and an environment, it's the part of ourselves that allows ourselves to be abused. When the feminine is in the shadow, it's when we don't feel like we can stand up for ourselves. How to say this? Standing up for ourselves would actually be masculine, but like it's when we feel like we just have to appease everyone around us and keep the peace at the expense of our own soul. Okay? And it's not about, the answer there is not then to add aggression. The answer there is to reinforce our own self-worth, reinforce our own our levels of self-love, reinforce our value in the world. And even if that means like repeating it to ourselves infinitely until it really becomes a part of our, when it really becomes a part of our mode of operation. Yeah. Okay. So some strong characters coming up. Let's see. So goals and ideals. We have, in that place, we have the King of Swords. All right. So there is kind of this underlying goal to be a strong leader. And I want to look this one up because there's a lot here. Okay, King of Swords, King of Swords. All right. So swords are associated with power and conflict, but be keen to remember that swords have a double edge. They are reminders that there is a fine line between good and evil, so be mindful of your thoughts and ambitions. So King of Swords, intellect, authority, strength, and fairness. So again, this is kind of in the goals and ideals like place. It's something that you are aiming for. Intellect, authority, strength. I think those are the three that really stand out for me. So it's kind of where this Page of Swords, so a page in that lineage is the student of the more advanced practitioners, if you will. Okay. So right now you're a page. You are aspiring to be the king. You want to be the one that, that has the wisdom of experience and teaching. Like you're the page right now, so you're willing to learn, but you really want to evolve and escalate to the king. Your subconscious influences. So this is our first major arcana card. So I'm not sure if I've explained this to you, but the tarot is divided up into minor and major arcanas. And minor arcana cards are these ones that are all like 5, 10, king, anything that is a of wands or of cups category. And they have messages for us, but they tend to be more transient. So what may be a message today could like fluidly change to a different message tomorrow. And so they're just a little less impactful, if you will. Whereas the major arcanas are strong. They are solid messages. They tend to be things that are root level things for us. Like, where I might say, oh, right now you're aspiring to be the King of Swords. Well, deep down, you might have a goal that's like your
that this is just right now, whereas like deep down you might have a major arcana card that represents your goal for your lifetime, like your this lifetime that you have chosen. Like what's your overall what'd you come into this life agreeing to do, to accomplish? That's a more of a major arcana situation. You know, whereas like our day to day, week to week, month to month goals might shift and evolve and change. You know, we meet one, we develop another kind of thing. So, okay, so what's your underlying in your subconscious influence? And that is the death card. This is the major, one of the major arcana cards. So, one of the things that sticks out to me immediately is this chick here in the corner, who appears to be grieving. And so with death, the astrological correspondence is Scorpio. So you could be looking at a person with a Scorpio sign, or you could be looking at something that is set to happen or scheduled to happen, or maybe you aren't even aware of it, but it's going to happen during Scorpio season, which is like October 22nd-ish to November 20th. Death is the harbinger of transformation. He is a reminder that you must shed what is old and familiar to become something new. You must break old habits and release that which is hindering you to make room for something greater. And the key words here are change, endings, beginnings, transition. So the thing that sticks out, the word that really sticks out there is transition. You're in a space of deep transition. Okay. You are, the reason that this is an invitation versus an obstacle or a bridge is because you are moving out of something with a lot of ingrained habits into a completely new mode of operation, and you need a new tool set for that. This is what this card is saying, is here's a tool. Balance your masculine and feminine, which the underlying tool of that is get to know your masculine and feminine, spend time with them, like tap into them, allow them to become friends, so that when you're looking at balancing, you're not looking at like yoking, where like we yoke, that old image of like yoking oxen, where they put that big wooden thing over the oxen's like shoulders, and then that brought them into balance with each other because they moved together at that point. Like, we're not looking to control the masculine and feminine. We're looking at, and we talked about relationship earlier, like reimagining relationship, coming back into relationship. When we're in relationship with something, then we can say, hey, you're out of bounds. Like, too much masculine. We got to put some boundaries around this so that the feminine feels safe to also be present. And that's more of that relational understanding of things. So whereas a relationship begins, it begins with getting to know someone. So this is where one practice you can do to do this, and there are probably others. So if you find something that works better for you, go for it. But one way you can go about this is to set aside pages in a journal and write masculine on one, write feminine on the other. Leave yourself a few pages if you love to write and journal things. If you're more of like keywords kind of person, one page might be enough. But anyway, you're going to sit there and you're kind of going to go into a meditative place, and you're going to ask that divine feminine part of yourself to come forward. And from there you can just conduct an interview. You can note what you feel. You can ask them to bring images to mind, or to bring something that helps you in your way of speaking or understand things. Ask them to bring that to you to help you get to know them. And this is also a good place to practice humility, to say, hi, like, I'm sorry, I haven't done this before, but I really value you and I'd love to get to know you. Can you tell me more about yourself? Now, I will say the hardest part of this process is trusting what comes up. So don't second guess, just write down. And you might only be given impressions, but that's okay. You're just learning to get to know this part of yourself. You may need to do this practice more than once. Okay. So we've established you're in a place of deep transition. Here's your approach, which is the Ace of Pentacles. And aces are generally newbies. So, and pentacles represent kind of like the material world. It's like corresponds with all the earth signs in astrology. So Ace of Pentacles is prosperity, stability, new beginnings, abundance. So like, you know, we're talking about anxiety versus excitement. I'm actually getting the strong feeling that you, like, if your approach is the Ace of Pentacles, you see this, even if you don't consciously want to admit it, you actually see this as a time of excitement. Like, it's a new beginning. You have hope. You have, there's hope of prosperity. There's hope that abundance is going to come to you. There's a hope that this is the path that's going to bring stability. And I think those things are true. Like, it's just that those things, let me put it this way, those things have no reason to not be true, okay? It's you and you alone who will bring those ideas into this new path that you're on. You can choose anxiety, which is just a total deflator of hope. It's a killer of abundance. It's a killer of prosperity. Or you can choose excitement, and you can choose to really lean into that, because excitement builds prosperity. Excitement fuels hope. And if you lean into excitement, then you'll find that those things you really feel about this new part of your journey will become true. Okay? Because you've chosen the path that brings them to existence. Okay. The environment that you're in. I love this card. This is the first card of the major arc. Actually, it's the second. The Fool is the first, but this is the second. It's numbered 1, and it's the Magician. And man, I don't have it out here, but one of my favorite cards is the Magician, and it's from the Old Tarot, Path of the Old Tarot. And he's kind of this like wild dude. He's sitting there with his staff. He's got like animal skins on. He's got horns. He's a human, but these are like what he's collected. He's got this array of tools around him. And it's because the Magician is the master of all. They have all the tools they need. They have everything within reach and at their disposal. They can utilize whatever comes their way. So this is the environment that you're in. You have all the tools you need, okay? You have all the tools you need. Here's where this becomes problematic. You may not know what tools you need, so you don't know what to reach for, and you may not be able to see those tools yet. Like, if you may not be able to see that the things around you are actually tools and can be useful to you. So this is a good place in your journal to ask the question. You can ask this question of the Magician. The Magician is not necessarily only one person. It's like a spirit that surrounds us, okay? It's a spirit of, it's the spirit that reminds you have everything you need in here, okay? So you can sit with the Magician, and you can ask, like, what tools would be best for me right now? Just write down what comes up. Don't worry about analyzing. Don't worry about the logistics. If they're like, well, you could really use $1,000, like, just write it down, okay? Don't worry about whether or not you have that tool right now, okay? And then another question to ask is, what tools do I have that I don't see or recognize yet? And then again, just write that down. Even if you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. Doesn't matter. Doesn't need to make sense. Just write it down, okay? All you're doing is inquiring. You are looking to see what the universe is trying to show you, all right? Okay, what you need to know. And that is the Seven of Swords. All right, this one I'm going to look at because there's a couple things coming to mind, but I want to see what this book says about what sticks out. If you'll remember, you are currently the Page of Swords looking toward to be the King of Swords. So it's interesting that a swords category is what you need to know. Betrayal, escape, deception, irresponsibility. Okay, betrayal is the word that's coming up hot. And no. Cleo? Sorry, she's eating my plant. Hey! No. Get down. Since when do you start doing that? Huh? That's new. Leave the plants alone. You're just... Oh, I'll feed you in a minute. Okay. She acts like we starve her. We do not. We feed her like 6 times a day. Okay. Betrayal. Ultimately, if we have betrayal in our outer lives, it's because we have betrayal in our inner lives. Okay? It's going to be really important for you to sit with yourself and ask the question, where am I betraying myself? Okay? And this can come back to, what were we talking about earlier with the... Talking about integrity, and understanding our values and actually honoring and choosing to operate within our values. So that's the opposite of betrayal, right? When we betray ourselves, then we are choosing to operate somewhere outside of our values. And it could be still something that's decent or honorable. It's not that it's like, well, if you're not operating within your values, then you're probably murdering people or, whatever. Like, it's not even that you're committing atrocities, but inside you are betraying yourself. You're betraying your instinct. You're betraying what you know to be true. You're betraying how you are wired, what you desire. That's a huge one, especially for people who've been socialized female. We betray our desires all the fucking time because we actually don't believe that we can desire things and can get what we desire in this world. So be wary of your tendency to betray yourself. Look, the whole vibe I'm getting here is like, it's time to fucking level up, and you are on your way there. You have chosen many things that have led you to this pathway, and you're ready, but you're not ready, if that makes sense. Like, you're ready in the sense that you're on the path and you're facing the direction. You're not ready in the sense that you still don't know what tools you have at your disposal. You're still betraying parts of yourself that need to be honored and cared for and loved. And those things, you need to really root out those things if you want to get to where you're going. And again, you're on your way. That's the thing. Like, this whole, this thing being a tool, like, for your toolbox versus a bridge or an obstacle, is saying, like, you're on your way. We want to give you the tools. That's the overwhelming message I'm getting from your guides, is they want to equip you. They want to see you succeed. You have tremendous forces in your corner, preparing you, guiding you, loving you. They need you, though, to start picking up the slack in those areas. They need you to love you. They need you to honor you. They need you to elevate you to queen status, okay? To that status that says, I deserve every fucking good thing coming my way. Not because necessarily like I'm entitled to it, but because that is my destiny. That is my inherent worth and value. I know that I'm worth more than this, and I am going to have it in my life. And we've been taught to think that those things are selfish things, but the reality is they're not selfish. They're actually a deep understanding and acceptance of our value and worth. Okay. So in the next thing, we have the outcome, which is the Two of Cups. Okay, we have the Two of Cups. I love this lion. I also find it interesting because this is the symbol for medicine, which is also what I have learned is actually also the balance of the masculine and feminine. So there's kind of this like that play again of like balancing the divine masculine and feminine leads you to your regalness. That is a theme. That is a theme you should write down. But it's interesting that we're coming full circle because we started with Six of Cups and we're kind of ending with Two of Cups, and I want to dig into that a little bit. So Cups delves into your emotional state and relationship. The suit appears when you need to pay attention to your own intuition, making decisions. And it corresponds with all the water signs. So Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Again, that Scorpio piece is coming up. I think Scorpio season is going to be a really intense one for you. And what it could be is that you're doing all this footwork now and you start to see the results coming together during Scorpio season. So don't be discouraged. Don't lose heart. Like, it will come to fruition. It will become more obvious to you. The only thing you need to do is just trust and keep doing this work. Okay. All right. Two of Cups. Health, partnership, harmony, and attraction. Health and harmony are the two that kind of stick out for me. Of course, if something else resonates with you stronger, then please make note of it. But health and harmony, I see all of this leading to a greater place of those two things, a greater place of health, healthy relationship with yourself, healthy relationship to the people and the things in your external world, the people you love, the relationship to your career and your path, the relationship to the natural world. And then harmony, like harmony being that all those things are playing nicely together. You know, it's not just peace where everyone's like not causing problems. It's like harmony to me is like everything is operating as it should in its healthiest state so that it works together well. So it's not that these things are just like kind of sitting there complacently, like not engaging. I mean, they are dynamic. They are moving around with each other. They are playing off of each other, you know, like the masculine is protecting the work that the work of the feminine, which is to nurture and nourish a new thing. And the masculine is setting the boundaries and deciding what gets to come in and out. And the feminine is in here like able then to do their work. And also that nourishing, all that nourishing and nurturing goes back to the masculine as well. Like the masculine benefits from the work of the feminine and the feminine benefits from the work of the masculine. They are harmonious with one another. I'm running out of time, so I want to get to these last two things. Not that there was much more to add to that, but the two extra cards that have come up, and I think these two were guiding me without me even realizing it, because when I said that your guides are in your corner, okay, so I think this can seem really like a strange image, but it's actually a deeply emotional. I'm having a really strong emotional response to this. And so what I see here is like this person is alone They feel vulnerable. They feel unprotected. They are emotional. They feel confused. They don't know which way to go. They can't see. Like in this, if you didn't have these things, shadowy things in the background, this would be like a dark room. They can't see ahead of them. But what all this is out here is a reminder that these are your guides. These are your ancestors. They are in your corner. They are cheering you on. This one is even like, hey, can you just move that hair out of your eyes a little bit? It'll help you see. Can you put your hands down? It'll help you see. There are other ways to comfort yourself than to sit alone in the dark and hold yourself and cry. You can allow yourself to be supported. You can allow yourself to be loved, encouraged, cheered for. You can allow this darkness to, you can turn on a light. You can allow it to be light. Okay? So intense love here. So much love. Like, whatever misconceptions you've had about the universe not wanting you to succeed, or the universe not giving you the answers you wanted or expected, take a deep breath. Allow your ancestors to surround you and love on you. And allow them to show you different paths. Like, when you expect only one thing, when you expect only one answer and you don't get it, it feels devastating. It feels like I'm trying all these things, I never get the answers I need, right? But if you open up and trust that the right answer will come to you, it will. Because you've created the space for it. You've removed the obstacle that we call expectation, and you've released that control, and you've allowed the universe and your guides and whoever else is out there that you connect with, that you see moving you through this world. It allows them to give you the answer you actually need versus the answer you want. Okay? And this last one is just it's the Ten of Wands. And I think the vibe I'm getting from this is that this has been a mode of operation for you for a very long time. You carry the burdens of this existence. You carry the burdens of all your failed expectations. You carry the burdens of the losses that you've had. You carry the burden of keeping yourself and people alive. You carry the burden of survival. You carry the burden of what to do, how to make ends meet. You carry all these burdens, emotional burdens, mental burdens, physical burdens, literal burdens, metaphorical burdens, you name it. And if you want to be free, you have to be willing to set this bundle down. And that's going to feel really fucking weird for a while because you are used to weight on your shoulders. You are used to the world. You are used to feeling like if you don't hold up this world that you've created, that you're in, and that's surrounding you, then it will fall to the ground and crumble. Well, maybe that's for the better. Maybe this world that you've created isn't serving you. Maybe it's not serving anyone, actually, because it's an imagined set of expectations. Maybe it would be better if you dropped it and let it fall. Maybe it would be better if you could even just put it down gently. You don't have to let it fall or crash to the ground. But the important thing is that you release it, that you release these burdens. And the advice I would give surrounding that is that it's not going to feel comfortable. Okay. Like imagine that you're on a backpacking trip. Here's the image of this. You're on a backpacking trip, and it's a full-fledged backcountry backpacking trip. So you've got about a 50-pound backpack on your body, and you're walking for 10 to 12 to 14 miles a day. That's a lot of walking with a heavy load, right? You start to kind of crane over. You do what this guy does. You put your hands on the straps, trying to relieve it off your shoulders because it's digging into your shoulders. You kind of hunch over so that you're not like putting all that weight on your shoulders. You're like just redistributing it to your back, right? It's causing a lot of problems. Then you get to your site and where you're going to camp, and you put the backpack down, and you feel different. Like for a moment, you're like, you stand a little taller, and you're like, oh, that's weird. Oh, wow. Walking seems easier. Moving through the world seems easier. All of a sudden, I don't have this weight on me. Okay, it's going to feel like that, and you're going to panic a little. You're going to panic a little because you're so used to the burden that that actually feels like normal, and this doesn't. This new way of being doesn't. That's okay. Give it some time. Sit with it. Allow it to become your new normal. Carrying burdens is going to do nothing but exhaust your energy. It's going to take all of the best of you. It's going to consume you. It's going to cloud your vision. When you put the burdens down, you're suddenly free to make different decisions. You're free to choose joy. You're free to choose happiness and harmony. You're free to become the King of Swords. You're free to elevate. You're free to figure out what tools now do you want to pick up, which ones do you not want to ever use again. There's a lot there. Okay. I'm being told that's kind of the closing of the circle. That's the information. So, where you go from here is up to you. Okay. You've been given a lot of insight into your journey. You've been given a lot of tools and ideas to work with, a lot of practices that you can begin engaging. And you can always re-listen to this to see if different things stick out to you the next time. So if it feels overwhelming, that's okay. Like there's no right or wrong feeling that you're going to have after this. It's okay to learn to accept and even love your emotional responses to things. Okay, with that, I am done. We are almost through with this candle, this clarity candle. I am going to let this continue to sit here and burn with all of with all the setup as it is. So you can just trust that I'm allowing that spell to complete itself, with the hopes that watching this video is going to bring some of the clarity that you're looking for. All right. Thank you so much for entrusting me with this. And I wish you nothing but success and all the things that you're looking for. Please let me know if there's anything I can clarify. I will say that I don't often remember readings, but occasionally if there's a question you've asked, I may be able to help bring some insight to that. Okay. But mostly I do recommend that you this is kind of a good practice for whatever questions come up. You ask your guides first, and then see what they say. All right. All right, darling. Talk to you soon.